Hello, everyone. Yesterday we touched on the Melacha of Shochet, only because we had a few more minutes, but let's review it. Shochet refers to the Melacha of taking the life of a living being. For the Mishkan, they slaughtered the tachash and the goats in order to use their skins for the curtains, and also the rams, which said that it had to be crimson red dyed, and the tchelet. All of these. Were part of that. So similarly, if there are insects in a toilet and there is a reasonable chance that flushing the toilet will kill them, it is preferable when possible to wait until they fly or crawl away. However, if they do not emerge, or if one must flush for the sake of human dignity, they may do so. And if ants are in a sink and can be blown out of the way, that is best. If it is difficult to do so, dishes or hands may still be washed, even though this will probably drown the ants, because this is grama, not a direct, you're not spraying the ants with the water or with the detergent. Since the one washing is not interested in killing them and he needs the water, it is not prohibited. So let's go into chovel, which is injury, causing injury or wounding. And so just wanted to review what actually is forbidden the rest of the week, not only on Shabbat. And so besides the prohibition of hitting anybody else who's Jewish, and there's also a law for a slave, which doesn't apply to us today. Um, the the Ben Ish Chai explains that echad ha'ish ve'echad ha'isha she'hiku et avihem, so whether a man or a woman that stroke their father or mother are condemned to death, and the death is through choking. If there was two witnesses and warning, and davka b'chayehem, another condition is only when they're alive. If you hit them after they're dead, not. I mean, it's not respectful and it's not appropriate, but it's not punishable by death. And last condition is v'davka she'asu b'hem chabura, that they actually caused blood to come out. But if they didn't cause them blood to come out, it's just like any other person from the people of Israel that you hit, that you get lashes, but not death. But again, for the parents, it is punishable by death. And the Mishneh Torah, the Rambam says that you're not allowed to strike your father or mother, just like the verse that we just read. And last but not least, in the Poskim, they discuss something that is mentioned in the Talmud about a doctor who's a son or daughter. Are they allowed to give treatment to their parents? And Rambam says that there actually isn't a machloket between the Amoraim, between the people who wrote the Gemara, but rather it's just if there's somebody else that can do it instead of the son or daughter, then that is preferable. But if not, they may do so. And in those days, they did bloodletting as a form of medicine, and so that's definitely taking out blood. And so, with that introduction, let's learn about what happens on or doesn't happen on Shabbat. So, just as it is prohibited by Torah law to kill any living being, it is also prohibited by Torah law to cause a loss of blood. After all, blood is life. Hadam hu nefesh, and actually, there's also a verse in Bereshit that is very similar. Additionally, with the release of a little blood, there is a localized loss of life. This prohibition applies even when the blood does not exit the body, but simply hemorrhages from blood vessels and accumulates under the skin, and it looks like a hematoma or a bruise. This too is viewed as a localized loss of life. Accordingly, if one strikes another person on Shabbat with intent to injure and causes a hemorrhage or hematoma, he is not only guilty of an interpersonal transgression, which we just discussed, but also desecrates Shabbat. This is also true of one who angrily strikes an animal and causes a hemorrhage or hematoma. We talked last week about Tzar Ba'alei Chaim not causing unnecessary harm to animals. Of course, if we need to fix a broken leg of an animal or draw blood for their own good, of course, we are allowed to do so. In addition to violating Tzar Ba'alei Chaim, they transgress the prohibition of Chovel. One may not do a blood test on Shabbat, since the goal is to use the blood. Taking it is prohibited by Torah law. We're not talking about a what's called blood test by choice, but rather, uh, um, we're talking about that you just schedule your blood test for Shabbat, but it can be done any other day of the week. But if you are hospitalized, of course, um, it is permitted. So in cases of danger to life, of course, it is permitted, and so it's up to the doctor or the nurse to tell you that it is necessary, and they will almost always say that it is necessary. Maybe not 16 times a day, like when I had leukemia, but no, I'm exaggerating, sorry, but many times. So it is also forbidden to scratch or pick at a scab if doing so will cause it to bleed, or to brush one's teeth in a way that will for sure, I'm adding that word here, cause the gums to bleed, as explained in chapter 14. A Jew may administer a shot to one who is ill, even if not dangerously so. So it's called chole she'en bo sakana, a person who's not about to die. It's not a life or death measure, as long as the injection is into flesh, since this will not necessarily cause the sick person to bleed. I remember that when we were kids and we had to take shots for hepatitis, it wasn't on Shabbat, but um, so many of our friends moved because of the pain and that bled. So um, anyway, they're all good and healthy now. In contrast, if the shot or infusion is done into the vein, it is prohibited for a Jew to administer it to one who is not dangerously ill, since there will definitely be at least a little blood. However, a non-Jew may be asked to give this injection if the sick person is dangerously ill. Even a Jew may give the injection, and really what Rabbi Melamed should have said is not even a Jew, but rather Rambam says it in the most clear way that Agdolim Shebahem, that meaning that the chief rabbi of Israel should do this, because it's a well, we're not going to go looking for. He's just saying that it is so important to save a life that we don't look for the leniency or the loophole, but we just do it because it is to save a life on Shabbat. And we will stop here and we'll open up for questions.